Some dangers don't leave bruises. Some danger you can't even see coming. E. coli can turn an ordinary day into every parent's nightmare.
All right, baby, ready for school? Okay, have a good day. Parents, nothing says trust in your parenting like bubble wrapping your kid like a fragile Amazon package because you think a sneeze is basically biological warfare. At this point, you're not raising a child. You're manufacturing a museum exhibit called What Happens When Fear Wins. Wrapping your kid in bubble wrap like they're some priceless antique isn't protecting them. It's just announcing to the world that you've officially lost the plot. Germs and viruses, infections like E. coli, they aren't snipers just hiding in the bushes. They're a part of everyday life. No amount of plastic and paranoia is going to save your child from reality. So instead of turning them into a walking, packing peanut, maybe focus on teaching good hygiene, healthy habits, and help them build a strong immune system. You know, actual ways to protect them that don't involve looking like a prop from a bad science fiction movie.
Hey guys, sorry for being late.
We're going to debrief on patient 223 this morning. She is 10, she's 4'11", 76 pounds. Her BP this morning was 100/63, and she's running a 1 at 110. Her symptoms were watery diarrhea, it's pinkish colored, nausea, fever, abdominal cramps, and fatigue. I'm thinking some of the possible syndromes could be hemorrhagic colitis or maybe interstitial cystitis. Thoughts?
Hemorrhagic colitis, generally, it can be something that explains her pinkish diarrhea because it's generally linked to blood in the waist. Mm-hmm. It also could explain some of her cramps because it can lead to severe cramping. And it can also explain her minimal fever because it is linked to having a fever.
Right.
I guess it could be IC as well, just for like the pelvic pain and the cramps. The only thing that has me not thinking it's that is that it has like a common symptom would be bloody urine, and that's not seen in the patient.
All right, well, we did just run a urine test on her, and she came back positive for leukocytes and nitrites, which could be common symptoms for UTI.
And I also ran some fecal samples from her, and it came back positive for E. coli.
So I would say we're definitely okay to rule interstitial cystitis out. Are we in agreement?
Yes. And hemorrhagic colitis is often linked to UTIs in most cases, as well as E. coli infections.
So I'm thinking this is what we're dealing with. Yeah.
Yep.
Widespread transmission of E. coli happens when bacteria easily moves through contaminated food, water, surfaces, and it quickly infects large groups and communities. E. coli is a very harmful bacteria and can be found in our everyday lives and our everyday foods. We have the opportunity to come in contact with it every single day. Some sources of E. coli could be raw or undercooked ground beef, contaminated water, raw vegetables, and unpasteurized milk. E. coli spreads via poor food handling, undercooked meat, unwashed produce, not washing of hands correctly, and cross-contamination on kitchen surfaces or utensils. This impact of widespread transmission causes outbreaks in families, schools, daycares, and even communities, and it spreads quickly through the contaminated surfaces, food, or even direct contact. Some prevention would be emphasis on the food safety, proper cooking, hand washing, clean water, and surface sanitation. And just a quick reminder that small actions can prevent very large outbreaks.
There are several stages to E. coli infection. The first stage that you are going to experience is going to be the exposure stage, which usually begins when E. coli is ingested through contaminated food or water, such as undercooked meat, unwashed vegetables, or contact with infected animals. Once ingested, it survives the acidic stomachs and makes its way to the intestines. Once it is in the intestines, we enter the colonization phase, which is where E. coli uses structures like the membrane or pili to latch onto epithelial cells. From there, many pathogenic strains begin forming biofilms, structured communities encased in a protective extracellular matrix. This not only helps them stick to surfaces, but also shields them from both environmental stress and host defenses. Once established, E. coli can release a variety of toxins. Enterotoxins cause watery diarrhea by disrupting ion transport, while cytotoxins, like the Shiga toxin, particularly from a strain of coli called EHEC, shuts down protein synthesis, killing host cells and causing bloody diarrhea. Biofilms play a key role here as they act as toxin reservoirs and help the bacteria maintain a long-term colonization. For the immune evasion, biofilms are central to E. coli's immune evasion strategy. These dense matrix physically block immune cells like neutrophils and macrophages from accessing the bacteria. It also limits the penetration of antimicrobial peptides and antibodies. Within the biofilm, bacteria can enter a slow-growing or dormant state, making them less detectable to the immune system. When eventually the host immune system escalates, neutrophils attempt to break down the biofilm using enzymes and reactive oxygen species. While it's a challenge, biofilms can resist clearance and even trigger chronic inflammation. Meanwhile, the adaptive immune system begins producing antibodies against bacterial antigens, and T cells contribute to clearing infection. However, full resolution often depends on breaking down the biofilm structure itself. If your body is eventually able to do so, then you begin the path to recovery, and your body begins to remove the E. coli infection from its intestines or its urinary tract.
Hello, I wanted to share with you what I learned in lab about what should we care about E. coli. Well, E. coli can impact our health. It can cause several gastrointestinal symptoms such as stomach cramps, diarrhea, nausea, vomiting, fever, and dehydration. In children, it can be life-threatening since they can develop hemolytic uremic syndrome or kidney failure, and most important, is the main cause for UTIs. It also affects the economy. People will miss work or school due to being sick because it can last up to a week. Daycares, businesses, and schools get shut down due to an E. coli outbreak. And finally, vulnerable groups like international travelers, children, and people older than 65 years are at risk because it can easily contract it and get severe symptoms. In addition to that, what are the potential consequences if E. coli is ignored? Well, if E. coli is ignored, it can be deadly fatal for anyone, but especially for groups at risk. As well, since E. coli contaminates food, this can reach dozens of families throughout grocery stores and work or school lunches. It quickly spreads. And finally, it can mutate. Its rapid spread can cause the pathogen to mutate and enhance its ability to infect, making it more dangerous and harder to control. So be careful with E. coli.
Usually when we think about food, we don't always think about dangers. We most likely think about family, friends, comfort, and just having a good time. But unfortunately, when we do eat food, we do have to take these things into consideration. There's been many case studies that has proven that E. coli is very dangerous. One being in 1993, there was a case where Jack in the Box, which is a food restaurant in America, has spread E. coli through their food to over 700 people. And unfortunately, a lot of the victims were children and 4 lives were lost. When this tragedy struck, America did take it serious and realize that although E. coli is very microscopic, it is very dangerous as well. The Center of Disease Control and Prevention estimated that E. coli affects roughly around 265,000 people per year, and this disease is so infectious that 1 in 10 people is required to be hospitalized every time they come in to get a checkup and discover that they do have an E. coli virus in them.
E. coli is a common bacterium that lives naturally in humans and animals. E. coli is a key part of our digestive system and is needed to make our bodies run smoothly. There's both good and bad E. coli, and the harmful E. coli can cause several different infections and diseases. There are several different ways to prevent the spread of E. coli to ensure that families stay healthy. Practicing good hygiene and being educated on how harmful bacteria can spread is key to staying safe and healthy. The public should keep this information in mind when it comes to the food they eat and their hygiene practices. E. coli is easily spread due to improper hygiene practices and being unaware of how serious issues this bacteria can cause. Knowing how it spreads and what it's commonly found in can help people be more cautious and careful when it comes to handling food and being hygienic. E. coli can cause several different illnesses, in extreme cases, even death. Being educated is key to staying happy and healthy. E. coli is the cause of many infections and hospitalizations throughout the year and in every generation. Many people know about UTIs, but not many know the name of the bacteria behind it. If they don't know about E. coli, then what else are they missing about this infection?